Hey guys, welcome back to Dream Phonograph. Tonight, we slip quietly into the sandals of a Roman gladiator and walk through a day not for spectacle but for breath, routine, and craft. If you enjoy winding down with gentle stories, please subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you never miss a night. Before we begin, drop a comment with your city and the current time. I'd love to see where and when you're listening. Dim the lights, let the hum of the room settle around you, and take a slow breath as we drift into tonight's quiet story. From cool stone at dawn to warm oil on wrists, the day moves in breaths. We will trace footwork in sand and feel the arena as patient stone around us. Night still wraps the barracks courtyard when the soft chime of a bell drifts through the wooden shutters. You draw in a measured breath, the air cool with the faint scent of damp ash from the hearth that banked itself hours ago. Across the room, sleeping forms shift beneath rough woolen blankets, the rhythmic hush of breathing merging with the distant creak of a corridor door. You rise slowly, letting your soles meet the packed earth floor, and the sensation of firmness grounds you in the present moment. The canvas curtain that separates your sleeping nook from the wider dormitory sways slightly with the draft, reminding you that the Ludus stirs before the rest of Rome opens its eyes. Lantern light approaches, glowing amber against the corridor's stone walls. Silent as a shadow, Sabinus, the senior attendant, traces a pattern in the air shaped like a laurel leaf, his wordless signal to keep voices low. You gather the linen strips that will later bind your hands and rest them over your left palm, feeling the texture as reassurance. The quiet oath you made on the day of your initiation murmurs through memory: to endure, to obey, to withstand fire, lash, and blade if that is the editor's will. The words no longer sting, they settle like a cloak of acceptance around your shoulders. A fellow fighter, Dacius, touches the back of your arm in greeting, his calloused fingers warm against the chill. No words pass between you, yet companionship settles into place as surely as the pre-dawn darkness. Outside, the courtyard stones still hold a trace of last evening's warmth. A sliver of moon silver coats the training yard, the shadows of the Palus stakes stretching long across the sand. You stand among your cohort while the doctori, Marcus Lupus, surveys the assembly. His gaze is steady but kind. The glow from the brazier accentuates the lines earned through years of combat and instruction. Breathe, he whispers, not as command but as reminder. So you inhale, slow and deep, letting the scent of oiled leather and faint juniper wash through you. Somewhere beyond the walls, a rooster dares a tentative crow, swallowed quickly by the city's stillness. Marcus leads you in the morning ritual of stretching, each motion deliberate. You let your spine uncurl as arms sweep overhead, the gentle crack of joints loosening like twigs yielding under a soft footstep. Knees bend in time with a murmured count, the chorus of bodies moving as one. As you fold forward, palms brushing the ground, you catch sight of the courtyard's central shrine, a modest altar bearing offerings of laurel, barley, and a tiny carved image of Nemesis. A ribbon of pale smoke from the incense curls upward, carrying yesterday's prayers. You touch your fingers briefly to your lips, and then to the altar, trusting that the goddess of retribution notices the gesture even in the dark. A junior attendant distributes cups of watered wine infused with honey and herbs. The liquid tastes faintly of willow and marjoram, brightening your senses without jarring them awake. For steady limbs, Sabinus mouths, and you return a quiet nod. Dacius shares a half smile, then tilts his cup toward the eastern gate where beyond lay the city. Within the barracks, murmurs begin soft recollections of past bouts, mention of new recruits, prayers for absent comrades who train in provincial amphitheaters. A young Thracian named Crito whispers about his dream, a hawk circling above the Colosseum, its wings marked by scars that glowed like embers. Dreams weigh heavily in the Ludus, and you rest a hand over your heart to acknowledge his omen. As the first hint of dawn colors the horizon, the Lanista, Gaius Alias, strides into the yard, accompanied by a scribe carrying wax tablets. The Lanista's presence quiets the murmurs. Even Marcus stands a fraction straighter. Gaius's tunic is edged with crimson, a nod to the magistrates he negotiated with yesterday. Today is a feast of Juno's blessing, he says softly, mindful of the hour. The editor craves dignity, precision, and spectacle that reassures the crowd more than it alarms them. He pauses, making sure every eye is on him. Remember your oath. Remember each other. His voice carries the cadence of a father who has long since traded tenderness for necessity. Yet when he meets your gaze, you read unspoken trust there. After he withdraws, you remain in the yard to center yourself. The sand beneath your feet cools the warmth of the wine. Nearby, the medicus, Valeria, uncaps a small jar filled with powdered plant ash mixed with vinegar. She offers a pinch to each fighter, explaining as always how the calcium strengthens bones and steadies nerves. You place the gritty mixture on your tongue. It tastes of earth and smoke, leaving a faint tingling on your lips. Valeria's steady presence comforts the younger fighters, and you watch as she adjusts the shoulder of Creto's tunic with maternal care. A companionable silence settles while you attend to equipment. The leather bindings of your training sword need oiling, so you apply a thin layer, rubbing in slow circles until the sheen returns. At the periphery of the yard, the animal master leads a pair of horses out for a slow walk, their hooves muffled in straw. You notice the animals' calm demeanor, a good omen for the day. Rome herself feels suspended in a breath, the city's usual bustle held at bay by the lingering dark. You lift your eyes toward the faint outline of the Colosseum's upper arches visible beyond the wall. They resemble sleeping giants, waiting for the sun to stir them. Marcus returns to the center of the yard and motions for quiet. "Remember the sacramentum," he says, voice barely above a whisper. One by one, fighters join him in tracing a diagonal line across the chest with 2 fingers, symbolizing the blade that might someday grant freedom. The ritual concludes with each of you touching the haft of your wooden practice sword to the ground, an acknowledgement of earth, blood, and endurance intertwined. You feel your heartbeat steadier now, aligned with the slow rhythm Marcus sets by tapping the staff in his hand against his palm. Before the drills begin, you retreat to the dormitory just long enough to tie the linen strips around your wrists. The fabric is cool, smelling faintly of lavender from the sachet Sophie, the laundress, insisted on tucking among the bandages. She believes calm scents ward off misfortune. You secure the strips with practiced ease, fingers moving by instinct. The rising light slips through the shutters in pale bands, painting your forearms in silver. A single candle flickers on the table between bunks, its flame steady despite the drafts, a quiet testament to the night's discipline. You take a moment to sit on the edge of your bunk and collect your thoughts. This day is yours, yet it is also part of a cycle traced by countless fighters before you. The walls bear faint carvings, tallies of victories, symbols of patron gods, names of friends who earned the rudis and left the ludus behind. Your fingers find one carved palm frond, polished smooth by repeated touches. You imagine the gladiator who carved it, perhaps on another Predawn morning like this. The continuity calms you, reminding you that your breath joins a long chorus of endurance. When Marcus calls again, you rise and step into the corridor. Torches now line the hallway, their flames licking upward with soft pops. Shadows flutter, giving the illusion of movement even where stillness rules. You walk past the kitchen where a pot of barley simmers quietly. Steam carries the aroma of bay leaf and garlic. Your stomach wakes in response. But the morning's rituals take precedence over hunger. The kitchen slaves nod as you pass, their respect expressed in small gestures. A lowered gaze, a hand resting over the heart. They, too, are part of the unseen structure that keeps the Ludus alive. Back in the yard, the sky has shifted from ink to dove grey. A breeze lifts the hem of your tunic, brushing your legs with a whisper. Marcus positions the cohort in 2 lines facing east, allowing the first light to touch your faces. The warmth arrives cautiously, anointing the bridge of your nose and the slope of your shoulders. Birds stir in the cypress trees that border the yard, their calls delicate yet insistent, as if urging the sun higher. You close your eyes briefly to savor the sensation of light meeting skin, a reminder that despite the day's demands, nature maintains its timeless rhythm. The first exercises unfold in near silence. You mirror Marcus's movements, slow rotations of arms, controlled squats, lunges that stretch muscle and focus alike. The ground feels supportive beneath each step, the sand's granules shifting softly under your weight. Your breathing falls into the pattern he sets. Inhale through the nose for 4 counts, hold for 2, exhale through the mouth for 6. The discipline of breath moors you, preventing thoughts from scattering into worries about the arena. Around you, fellow fighters move with similar grace, their expressions serene. Marcus breaks the silence only once to remind everyone to observe the omens. If a raven calls from the west, pause and listen, he says. If your sandal lace breaks, retie it with care and gratitude. These instructions, rooted in tradition, ensure that no movement feels accidental. Everything carries meaning, and by honoring these small rituals, you honor the line between survival and recklessness. You nod, absorbing the wisdom passed from veteran to novice through generations. As the exercises conclude, the sky brightens to pale gold. A faint hum of the city stirs beyond the walls, merchants rearranging stalls, distant wheels turning on cobblestones, a child's laughter carried on the morning air. You feel suspended in the moment, an observer poised between the stillness of night and the momentum of day. Marcus dismisses the cohort with a soft clap, and you bow your head briefly before heading to the washing trough. The water is brisk, shocking your palms awake. You splash your face, letting droplets trail down your neck. The sensation brings clarity, aligning your senses for the hours ahead. Before leaving the yard, you pause by the altar once more. A small bowl of salt sits near the base, and you take a pinch to sprinkle over your tongue. The taste sharpens your awareness, anchoring you in the here and now. You whisper a prayer not for victory but for steady hands, swift reflexes, and the grace to honor whichever outcome the day delivers. The incense has nearly burned away, leaving a faint curl of smoke that drifts toward the rafters. You watch it climb, dissolving into the morning light, and feel yourself exhale in unison, ready to step into the structured embrace of the day. The first rays of sun spill over the Ludus wall, painting the training sand in gentle gold. You step toward the palace, the upright wooden posts scarred with countless practice strikes. The grain of the timber bears grooves from your own efforts, overlapping with those of fighters who came before. Marcus stands nearby, staff resting against his shoulder, observing with the calm attention of a gardener tending cherished vines. Alignment, he reminds softly. You plant your feet hip-width apart, feel the earth beneath, and raise the weight of your wooden gladius, letting your wrists flex with the motion. The drills begin not with ferocity but with deliberate repetition. You trace slow arcs through the air, slicing at the imaginary angles Marcus calls wind doors. Each cut is an exhale, each recovery an inhale. Sweat beads at your temples, cool in the mild breeze, and your muscles warm gradually, awakening without jolt. Across the yard, Dacius mirrors your movements. The two of you keep pace like dancers bound by a shared rhythm. The clack of wood meeting wood echoes in time, a soft, percussive heartbeat that steadies your mind. Marcus steps between pairs, adjusting elbow angles, guiding shoulders back. When he reaches you, his palm settles lightly against your mid-back. "Let your breath lead the blade," he murmurs. You nod, drawing in air until your chest expands against his touch. The next strike glides smoother, the gladius cutting through morning air with minimal effort. Marcus's approval shows in a slight upturn of his mouth before he moves on. Your confidence grows not from flamboyant gestures but from the steady assurance that each movement arises from intention. After 15 measured routes around the palace, Marcus signals a change. Wooden shields appear, handed to you by an attendant. The curved surface presses comfortably against your forearm, its leather edge worn yet reliable. Today's focus is footwork, gliding steps that maintain balance and distance. Marcus uses a rope to outline circles in the sand, instructing you to stay within the perimeter while shifting angles. You respond with low, controlled strides, the sand whispering underfoot. When your heel slips on a hidden pebble, you ease your weight forward and correct without haste, converting potential stumble into graceful recovery. The doctor claps twice, summoning the first of the sparring rounds. You face Crito, the young Thracian whose dream haunted the dawn. His eyes brim with determination, and you offer a subtle nod, promising to guide rather than overwhelm. The mock combat unfolds in slow motion at Marcus's insistence. 3 counted steps, a gentle thrust, a parry caught like a feather. You note Crito's shoulders tightening with each exchange. During a pause, you whisper, "Let the hawk ride the thermals." His jaw unclenches, and the next movement flows smoother. The analogy isn't random. Marcus once told you to imagine gliding over the arena rather than gripping it, and now you pass that wisdom along. The cohort circulates partners, each bout structured in phases. First, the retreat and advance, accompanied by the rustle of tunics and the low hum of controlled exertion. Then the shield presses, where you lean into the contact just enough to feel another's strength without yielding. Finally, a tracing exercise, the tip of your wooden sword gliding a path along Crito's shield rim, teaching you to read an opponent without striking. The entire sequence favors attentive listening over aggression. Between bouts, Marcus orders a moment of mindfulness. He gestures everyone to kneel, palms resting on thighs, eyes closed. "Hear Rome," he says. You obey, letting city sounds steal into the yard, the distant clang of a blacksmith, a vendor's soft call, the cooing of pigeons perched on tiled roofs. The murmured litany lulls you, reminding you that the world continues beyond the arena's demands. When you open your eyes, your focus feels refreshed, as if the air itself reset your nerves. Next comes the weighted drills. Attendants bring out sand-filled leather bags, fastening them to your wrists and ankles. The added weight encourages deliberate motion. You resume the palus strikes, the muscles in your shoulders singing a low note of effort. Marcus walks the line, tapping the ground with his staff to mark the tempo. 1, 2, 3, pause. 1, 2, 3. The rhythm becomes a lullaby, guiding each movement into a near trance. Sweat slides down your spine, cooling quickly in the morning breeze. You relish the controlled burn in your legs, knowing it will anchor you later when adrenaline tempts haste. Valeria, ever attentive, circulates with a bowl of diluted vinegar. She dabs a cloth and touches it to your wrists to prevent chafing beneath the linen wraps. "Keep the joints soft," she advises. Her voice is soothing, the cadence of someone who has spent years coaxing fighters past fear. You thank her quietly, focusing on the faint aroma of rosemary in the cloth. The scent grounds you, a reminder of herb gardens tended behind the barracks for both medicine and comfort. Marcus signals the transition to weapon forms. Today he selects the Momillo style for you, Broad shield, gladius, helmet with a high crest. The training set feels heavier than bare wood, its metal edges dulled but solid. As you strap on the helmet, the world narrows to the slit of the visor. Sounds muffle. Your own breath grows louder, measured and calm. You take slow steps, adjusting to the altered balance. Dacius, assigned as your partner, dons the retirius gear with net and trident. The contrast in styles, a heavily armored fighter versus a lightly armored one, requires meticulous timing. Marcus nods for you to begin. You adopt the Murmillo stance, shield forward, sword angled down. Dacius advances with the net raised but moves at half speed, allowing both of you to rehearse counters. You sidestep, letting the net brush your shield, and answer with a controlled push that would, at full speed, seek his shoulder. The trident glints in the sunlight, yet your eyes remain steady. Each exchange slows to the tempo Marcus prescribed, ensuring muscle memory absorbs precise responses. You note the sand's texture shifting under your sandals, a reminder to lift your feet rather than drag them. During a pause, Marcus offers quiet commentary. "Let the shield breathe with you," he says. You realize you've been holding it rigid. On the next attempt, you synchronize your inhalation with a gentle outward press, exhaling as you retract. The shield feels lighter, almost responsive, as if it shares your pulse. Dacius notices and grins behind his visor. "That's the rhythm," he whispers. The camaraderie pulses like a hidden current beneath the structured drills, each fighter invested in the other's poise. The sequence shifts to defensive patterns, blocking high then low, followed by a controlled sidestep. Marcus encourages you to listen for subtle cues, the scrape of Dacius's sandal, the shift of his weight. With the helmet muffling external sound, you rely on peripheral motion and instinct. You catch a faint clatter from the kitchen behind you, pots being arranged for the midday meal. Even that domestic noise feeds your focus, reminding you that life pulses calmly beyond the arena's rituals. After the armored rounds, Marcus signals a cool down. You remove the helmet, grateful for the breeze that kisses your sweat-damp hair. The cohort forms a wide circle. In the center, Marcus demonstrates slow kata inspired by the old Samnite forms, flowing from low crouch to extended lunge with the grace of water sluicing over stone. You follow, your limbs tracing similar arcs. The sequence eases your muscles while reinforcing technique. When you reach the final pose, kneeling with sword grounded and head bowed, you feel an almost meditative hush within. Marcus then invites a storytelling interval, a tradition he claims keeps the mind as agile as the body. He asks Flamma, a veteran Murmillo who earned the rudis yet chose to remain, to speak. Flamma recounts a tale of a fight in Capua where a sudden gust knocked dust into his eyes. He survived by listening for the crowd's inhalations to predict his opponent's strike. The lesson is clear. Senses extend beyond sight. You absorb his words, imagining the roar of an amphitheater guiding you like a tide. The drills resume in gentler form. You practice disarming techniques, hands guiding Dacius's wrist with minimal force. Marcus insists that the move should feel like persuading a child to release a toy rather than ripping it away. The analogy, delicate and unexpected, lodges in your mind. When you execute the maneuver, Dacius's grip loosens without strain. The success sends a warm glow through your chest, not triumph but appreciation for the balance between strength and softness. As the sun climbs higher, shadows shorten. Marcus checks the water clock near the gate, ensuring the schedule aligns with the Lanista's plan. He dismisses the cohort for a brief respite. You sit at the edge of the yard, stretching your legs toward the sun-warmed sand. Your calves pulse gently, satisfied. A breeze carries the scent of baking bread from a nearby bakery, mingling with the sharper tang of sweat and oil. You search the sky for Kryto's hawk and find only a lone swallow cutting swift arcs. perhaps the omen transformed with the rising light. Dacius settles beside you, untying his sandal straps. When you told Crito about the thermals, you sounded like Marcus, he remarks softly. The compliment feels intimate, earned through years of shared practice. You shrug lightly, watching a beetle navigate the sand ridges. We hold each other steady, you reply. The simplicity of the statement satisfies, encapsulating the essence of the morning. Before the session ends, Marcus leads one final alignment exercise. He lays a straight staff on the ground and instructs each fighter to walk its length heel to toe with eyes closed. The task demands balance and trust. When your turn arrives, you close your eyes and feel the staff underfoot, a slender line guiding you. You extend your arms for equilibrium, breaths even. Halfway along, a distant cheer rises from children practicing games in a nearby courtyard. The sound curls around you like encouragement. You reach the staff's end without wavering, a small triumph that feels richly satisfying. Marcus offers a closing benediction, touching his staff to each fighter's shoulder. Discipline is not a cage, he says quietly, but a doorway to freedom when the moment arrives. The words settle deep within you, echoing the promise that mastery grants choice, even in the arena's orchestrated theater. You bow your head, acknowledging the wisdom. The morning drills conclude with everyone returning equipment to its place. You rest the wooden gladius along the rack, smoothing your palm over the hilt in silent thanks. The helmet goes onto its peg, gleaming faintly. As you leave the yard, the sun has fully claimed the sky, bathing the Ludus in warm light. Your body hums with exertion yet remains calm, every sense attuned. The day stretches ahead, and you feel prepared to meet it, one measured breath at a time. The clang of bronze bowls signals the transition from drills to nourishment. You follow the cohort into the refectory, a hall whose walls are painted with faded frescoes of laurel wreaths and palm branches. Sunlight filters through latticed windows, scattering patterns across the tables. The aroma of simmering barley porridge mingles with steam rising from pots of lentils, and your stomach responds with a gentle tug of hunger. Wooden benches line long tables. You take a seat among familiar faces, the planks smooth beneath your palms from years of meals served here. Kitchen attendants ladle generous portions into your bowl. The porridge glistens with honey and is flecked with chopped dried figs. You lift the spoon slowly, allowing the heat to warm your fingers before bringing it to your lips. The first taste is rich, yet simple sweetness, balanced by the earthy grain. It fuels rather than indulges, a recipe tuned through generations to sustain fighters' bodies. Beside you, Valeria places a small clay cup filled with a tonic made from distilled vinegar, plant ash, and crushed fava beans. For bones that bend but do not break, she says softly, echoing advice recorded by Roman physicians. A hush blankets the room as the Lanista enters. Gaius Aelius raises a hand, and conversation pauses with respectful ease. He recites a brief invocation to Hercules, patron of endurance, thanking the god for steady limbs and the discipline that carried you through the morning. His words roll slowly, each syllable allowed to settle like dust on a sunbeam. When he concludes, the cohort resumes eating, voices kept low as if honoring the vow of calm carved into the Ludus stones. Across the table, an older gladiator named Rufina, renowned for her prowess with the scissor, offers to share a story. She speaks about a long-ago bout, when a healer on the sidelines whispered a prayer that became her anchor. He said the sand remembers, she murmurs, grinning as she echoes the phrase. You savor the porridge and imagine grains of sand holding the memory of each footstep, each fall, each triumph. The image comforts you. It suggests that the ground beneath you bears witness to perseverance rather than merely spectacle. After the porridge comes a platter of fresh bread, its crust sprinkled with sesame seeds delivered from merchants along the Tiber. You tear a piece, feeling the warmth release a cloud of fragrant steam. The bread pairs with soft goat cheese, tangy and soothing. A bowl of olives passes among you, their brine sharp enough to wake the palate without jolting the senses. The meal's simplicity underscores the practicality of the Ludus diet: carbohydrates for energy, proteins for muscle, herbs for healing. Once the main dishes are cleared, Sabinus brings small plates of dates rolled in crushed walnuts. The sweetness arrives like a benediction, ushering in the next phase of the morning, blessings and protective rites. You wipe your hands on a linen cloth as attendants refill cups with lukewarm water infused with mint. The scent cools the air, encouraging relaxed breathing. Gaius gestures toward the doorway where a priestess of Nemesis waits, her white stola edged with deep blue. Her presence is a familiar comfort. She visits often to renew the oath that binds you. She carries a shallow bowl of water drawn from a sacred spring outside the city. As she walks past each fighter, she dips her fingertips and sprinkles droplets onto your forearm. The water is cool, leaving a trail that evaporates slowly. Balance follows patience, she intones. Her voice resonates through the hall, a gentle bell that steadies fluttering nerves. You close your eyes and absorb the words, letting them anchor the day's unfolding. Next arrives the household Lars, small figurines representing the protective spirits of the Ludus. Sabinus sets them on a table draped with crimson cloth. Each fighter is invited to offer a token. You place a sprig of rosemary, the center reminder of both the kitchen gardens and the wild hills beyond Rome. Darcius lays a strand of horsehair tied with a bronze bead, honoring the mounts that lead arena processions. These offerings, though modest, weave a tapestry of gratitude that binds the cohort together. Valeria conducts her own ritual, checking each fighter's pulse by resting fingertips against the wrist. When she reaches you, she listens quietly, counting heartbeats with lips barely moving. Strong and steady, she murmurs, slipping a small sachet of crushed laurel leaves into your hand. Keep this in your belt. Laurel clears the thoughts and focuses sight. You tuck the sachet away, grateful for her care. Around you, the room hums with gentle conversation plans for the afternoon, recollections of past processions, whispered hopes for companions. After the meal, the cohort moves to the courtyard for the blessing of gear. Armor pieces line wooden racks, glinting softly in the sunlight. Marcus and Valeria oversee the inspection, aided by a pair of young apprentices who carry polishing cloths. You lift your cuirass, its metal plates cool against your palm. Each rivet receives attention. You run a cloth along the edges, ensuring there are no rough spots that might chafe during the bout. Marcus steps beside you and checks the straps, tightening one with practiced efficiency. Armor should feel like a friend, he says, eyes crinkling at the corners. Close, supportive, and never taken for granted. At a nearby table, another attendant prepares a mixture of olive oil and powdered resin. You dip your fingers into the balm and rub it across your chest and shoulders, the fragrance sharp yet soothing. The oil keeps skin supple, preventing the chafing caused by constant training. As you work, you listen to the murmured recitation of a hymn to Fortuna sung by two veteran fighters. Their voices intertwine, low and harmonious, creating an atmosphere akin to a lullaby. The Lanista arrives with a small box of amulets. Some depict Hercules, others Nemesis or Mars. He offers each fighter an amulet to pin inside their tunic. You select one etched with an owl, symbol of wisdom and watchfulness. The metal feels cool as you fasten it near your collarbone, its weight a comforting reminder of unseen guardians. Gaius meets your eyes, nodding approvingly. Mind and body, he says softly, both must be fed. Once gear is inspected, Marcus leads a restorative stretch beneath the portico. The shade cools your skin while you extend arms overhead and roll shoulders back. He guides breathing exercises. Inhale for the length of a slow count of 6. Hold for 3. Exhale for 9. The extended exhale releases tension gathered in muscles and mind. Birds chatter in the rafters, punctuating the quiet with gentle trills. Sabanos returns with a scroll containing announcements from the editor of today's games. He reads aloud in a calm voice, reminding everyone of the schedule: beast hunts at mid-morning, mythological reenactments at midday, gladiatorial bouts in the afternoon. A few fighters exchange glances at the mention of a visiting senator expected to attend. The presence of high-ranking spectators often means heightened scrutiny. You rest your hands on your thighs to ground yourself, focusing on the fabric's coarse weave against your skin. The sensation anchors you, preventing imagination from racing ahead. After announcements, Valeria invites anyone with lingering injuries to step forward. You hold back to allow those in greater need to approach first. Flamma presents a bruise from yesterday's sparring. Valeria applies a poultice of honey and crushed garlic, wrapping it with linen. Honey draws out heat, she explains to a young recruit watching nearby. The recruit nods, absorbing the lesson with wide eyes. These moments serve as informal instruction, passing knowledge from experience to new fighters. When your turn arrives, you mention a faint stiffness lingering in your left knee. Valeria kneels to examine it, her touch gentle. She massages warmed oil into the joint, working slowly until the stiffness eases. Remember to flex and release during the procession, she advises. You thank her and make a mental note to incorporate subtle stretches while walking later. With physical routines completed, the cohort gathers in the meditation alcove, a semicircular room lined with cushions. Murals depict pastoral scenes. Shepherds resting, rivers winding through green hills, clouds drifting across cerulean skies. The contrast to the arena's intensity is intentional. The alcove reminds fighters of peace beyond spectacle. Marcus dims the lamps, letting the space glow softly. Sit, he instructs. You settle onto a cushion, the fabric plush beneath you. Eyes closed, you follow the cadence of his voice as he guides a visualization. The arena sand as a quiet shore, the crowd's murmur as a distant tide, the opponent's movement as a gentle current. During the meditation, a sense of gratitude blooms quietly inside you. You think of the people who shaped this day, the farmers who supplied grain, the artisans who forged your armor, the healer who safeguards your limbs. Each contribution threads into the fabric of your existence. The awareness softens any trace of anxiety, replacing it with reverence for interconnected lives. When the meditation ends, you remain seated for a moment, savoring the lingering calm. Crito sits beside you, eyes shining. The hawk from my dream landed on a branch, he whispers, and it wasn't hunting, it watched. You smile gently. Observation is its own strength, you reply. The reassurance seems to settle him, his shoulders relax. Before leaving the alcove, Marcus reminds everyone to record reflections on wax tablets, a practice encouraged by the Lanista to track growth. You retrieve your tablet from a shelf, the stylus warm from sunlight. You inscribe a brief note: morning drills smooth, breath steady, camaraderie strong, gratitude for Valeria's tending. Vision, sand as steady shore. The act of writing anchors the experiences, transforming them into memory you can revisit when needed. The rest of the late morning unfolds with small, meaningful tasks. You assist Sabinus in folding clean tunics, the fabric smelling of lavender and sun-dried air. You check the straps of a younger fighter's greaves, tightening them until the fit is snug but comfortable. These acts of service reinforce bonds within the cohort. Each gesture whispers, you are not alone. As the sun nears its zenith, a runner from the amphitheater arrives. carrying a message sealed with the editor's signet. Gaius breaks the seal and reads silently before announcing that today's bouts will emphasize skillful displays over fatal outcomes. The editor wants the crowd soothed, not shocked, a blessing for those who prefer measured combat. Relief ripples through the room, barely audible but palpable in the way shoulders lower and exhalations lengthen. You feel gratitude, knowing your preparation for control will be valued. Before departing for the procession, one final blessing occurs. The priestess of Nemesis returns with a small brazier of smoldering herbs. She wafts the smoke around each fighter, chanting softly in a language older than Rome. The smoke carries hints of sage and myrrh, swirling around you like a protective cloak. When it clears, you feel refreshed, as if the very air has been combed smooth. Finally, you retrieve your cloak from its peg, a dark wool garment lined with soft linen. You drape it over your shoulders, savoring the weight that signals readiness. Outside, the sun bathes the courtyard in bright light, casting crisp shadows of you and your comrades across the flagstones. Your body feels nourished, your spirit fortified by rituals that honor both the divine and the mundane. The day's next chapter beckons, and you step toward it with a heart steady as a drumbeat at rest. The refectory clears, and the cohort proceeds to the atrium where the Lanista holds audience. Sunlight pours through the compluvium, casting a square of brilliance on the marble floor. A shallow pool, the impluvium collects the light in shimmering ripples, reflecting the painted ceiling of Jupiter riding a chariot. The air smells faintly of beeswax and laurel smoke. You adjust your cloak and take your place among the fighters, forming a semicircle around Gaius Aelius. He stands near a table layered with wax tablets, scrolls, and small clay figurines representing today's matchups. Gaius's expression is serene, the calm of a man who negotiates between senators, editors, and the fighters he protects. Beside him, his scribe Cassia readies a stylus. The Lanista begins with gratitude, thanking each fighter for their discipline in the morning drills. His voice is seasoned with warmth, reminding you that behind the stern exterior beats a heart invested in your welfare. Today's Munera honors the dedication of the Augustales, he says, referring to the priestly guild sponsoring the games. Their patron, Senator Lucius Fabius, desires a spectacle of control and cooperation. He wishes the crowd to leave with renewed admiration for Rome's order. The language signals a structured display rather than brutal combat. Relief flickers subtly across faces around you. Gaius gestures toward the figurines. Each pair of amulets represents fighters matched for the afternoon's program. He lifts two figures, one bearing the crest of a murmillo, the other the net of a retiarius, and places them together. You, along with Dacius, will perform the culminating bout, he tells you, his gaze steady. The editor requests a narrative of skill, strategy, and mutual respect. The outcome shall be a draw decided through a coordinated sign to the editor's dais. You nod, absorbing the responsibility. This performance requires precision and trust. Cassia records notes while Gaius outlines the sequence. First, a choreographed exchange demonstrating offensive prowess, then a segment highlighting defenses against entanglement, finishing with a synchronized pause awaiting the editor's verdict. He emphasizes the moments where gestures must align: the sweeping salute to the podium, the controlled lowering of weapons. His instructions echo the careful choreography described in manuals preserved by trainers throughout the empire. After detailing your bout, Gaius addresses others. Rufina will face a Secutor in a match designed to showcase agility. Flamma pairs with a Hoplomachus for a demonstration of endurance. Each assignment is delivered with measured words, ensuring everyone understands the editor's expectations. When a newcomer hesitates, Gaius repeats the instructions calmly, adjusting the explanation until comprehension dawns. Patience, he often says, is an unseen weapon. Once pairings are set, Gaius invites questions. Dacius raises a hand, asking about the pace desired during the draw. Gaius responds by stepping into the open space and demonstrating 2 sweeping steps, shields angled outward, gladii held low, a synchronized kneel. He emphasizes the importance of eye contact with the editor to invite the closing gesture. You watch carefully, imprinting the sequence into memory. Dacius meets your gaze afterward, the spark of shared responsibility passing between you. The Lanista then shifts to strategy. He reminds the cohort of the senator's presence. Lucius Fabius favors displays of discipline that mirror military order. He says, "Let your movements echo the legion's precision. Remember that these games reaffirm Rome's power through elegance as much as through force." His words resonate. You understand that the day's spectacle is as much about civic pride as entertainment. Gaius turns to the scribe, who reads omens recorded earlier by the household augur. A flight of swallows crossed the sky at dawn, interpreted as a sign of harmony. A dog's bark near the Ludus gate was noted but deemed insignificant. The augur advised offering a small cake to appease household spirits, which Sabinus already set by the altar. The Lanista nods, satisfied. "Rome's signs favor tranquility today," he says. "Carry that favor with you." He then invites Marcus to speak about readiness. The doctor steps forward, shoulders squared, staff in hand. "Your bodies are tuned," Marcus assures. "Your minds are anchored. Remember the breath counts we practiced. Let no crowd noise disrupt the cadence. Trust that calm makes you swift." His deep voice rolls through the atrium like distant thunder, softened by hills. The reassurance sinks deep, fortifying resolve. After the speeches, Gaius calls you and Dacius closer for a private consultation. He unrolls a small parchment illustrating the Colosseum's arena floor, marking the paths you will take. His finger traces a loop near the podium where the senator will sit. When you reach this point, pause for a heartbeat. Let the crowd absorb your composure. Then move into the final exchange. He emphasizes that the editor may raise his hand to signal mercy. You must attune your peripheral vision to catch it. The detail underscores the partnership between fighters and patrons. Gaius lowers his voice. "Remember, the senator admires discipline born from fraternity. Show the crowd that strength and restraint share the same heart." The sentiment warms you. You respond with a quiet pledge. "We will honor the day's intent." Dacius mirrors the vow. Gaius touches each of your shoulders in blessing, a brief yet intimate gesture. The audience concludes with a formal benediction. Gaius lifts a shallow bowl filled with wine and pours a libation into the impluvium. The liquid ripples outward, catching sunlight. "To the gods of the arena, to the spirits of our house, to the courage within each of you," he pronounces. The words hang in the air, echoing lightly against the walls. As the cohort disperses, you linger near the impluvium. The water's surface still trembles from the libation, reflecting the painted sky above. Cassia approaches to confirm the timing of your procession. The editor requests that you arrive at the amphitheater as the horns announce the 3rd hour, she says. Your place in the pompa will be near the front, behind the musicians. You commit the schedule to memory, thanking her. Her meticulous tracking ensures no detail slips through cracks. Before departing, you receive a small scroll from Gaius. It contains a brief message from a patron who saw your last bout and sent a token of encouragement. The note reads, "Maintain the serenity that held us captive. Rome needs calm heroes." Inside the scroll is a narrow ribbon of blue silk. You wind it around your wrist beneath the linen wraps, its smooth texture cool against your skin. The gesture reminds you that spectators seek solace as much as excitement. You walk through the peristyle garden on your way out of the atrium. The garden's fountain gurgles softly, water trickling over carved dolphins. Citrus trees release a faint, sweet aroma. You pause to brush fingertips across a leaf, grounding yourself in the living world that thrives regardless of arena outcomes. A pair of sparrows bathes in the fountain, scattering droplets that sparkle in the sunlight. Their carefree motions offer a quiet lesson. Even within the shadow of the Colosseum, life contains pockets of gentle joy. Sabinus intercepts you near the doorway, handing over a folded cloth pouch. Inside rests a polished bronze coin stamped with the image of Nemesis. A gift from the senator's steward, he explains. He says Nemesis watches those who walk the fine line between fate and choice. You slip the coin into your belt, appreciating its reassuring weight. All morning, tokens appear like breadcrumbs guiding you toward the afternoon. As you leave the atrium, you pass a group of trainees reciting the gladiator's oath under Marcus's supervision. Their voices weave together: Uri, Vincere, Verberari, Feroca Nicari. To be burned, bound, beaten, slain by the sword if the editor commands. The words once tasted of fear, now they taste of resolve tempered by experience. You place a hand over your heart in silent solidarity with the novices. Their journey mirrors yours, and your calm presence may someday guide them as Marcus guides you. Before joining the procession preparations, you step briefly into the shrine of Hercules that adjoins the atrium. The statue stands tall, muscles rendered in marble yet softened by age. Offerings of figs and small bronze weights rest at his feet. You add a single grape from your meal, its surface shining like a gemstone. Grant me balance, you whisper. The shrine feels cool and quiet, a sanctuary nestled within the bustling Ludus. When you exit, the corridor hums with purposeful movement. Attendants carry bundles of flags, musicians tune horns and aulos flutes, and armorers make final adjustments to greaves. The energy builds, yet remains measured, everyone attuned to the Lanista's guidance. You find Dacius near the equipment room, adjusting the net cords. He glances up. The senator wants harmony, he says. Let's give him a song. You smile, appreciating his metaphor. Together you head toward the staging area, hearts synchronized with the day's unfolding design. The gates of the Ludus swing open as the horns announce the third hour. Sunlight floods the street, illuminating paving stones still damp from morning dew. Procession lines form and you take your place with cloak pinned at the shoulder, helmet cradled beneath your arm. Ahead, standard bearers raise flags embroidered with the Ludus emblem, a palm frond crossed with a gladius. Musicians lift curved horns that gleam in the sun, their first notes soft and stately. The rhythm is measured, echoing the deliberate cadence Marcus drilled into you. Your heartbeat aligns with the pulse of the march. The Ludus Magnus sits just off the Via Labicana, so the route bends naturally toward the Colosseum's eastern flank before sweeping into the broader avenue. Rome's streets stretch before you, framed by tall insulae and marble temples. Balconies overflow with spectators who lean over railings to watch the pompa approach the Colosseum. Women toss petals of rose and marigold, the perfumed rain settling on your shoulders. The petals' softness contrasts with the firm leather of your armor, creating a sensory balance that soothes rather than excites. Children perch on stoops, waving ribbons, and whispering imagined stories about your deeds. Their eyes shine with curiosity, and you respond with a gentle nod, sharing the calm that steadies you. The procession moves along the Via Labicana, the Colosseum's towering arches visible in the distance like a massive crown. You inhale the mingled scents of incense, freshly baked bread, and the city's ever-present tang of river air. Merchants pause their haggling to watch. A baker lifts a loaf as if offering it. You incline your head in acknowledgement, grateful for each citizen whose quiet support mirrors the discipline of the Ludus. As you walk, you flex your left knee subtly, following Valeria's advice. The movement keeps the joint loose without drawing attention. Darcius strides beside you, net over his shoulder, trident balanced against his hip. He murmurs softly about the angle of the afternoon sun, calculating how it will filter through the Colosseum's Valeria. "We will fight in partial shade," he notes. "Let your shield edge catch the light so the crowd sees it glimmer." You file the suggestion away, appreciating his attentive mind. Passing the temple of Venus and Roma, you hear priests chanting a hymn that ripples through the air like a gentle tide. Their voices blend with the steady beat of drums carried by the Procession's musicians. The combined sound envelops you in harmony. A fellow fighter, Junior, who walks behind you, hums along quietly, her voice adding a lower, soothing note. You feel the music vibrate through your chest, an invisible thread connecting everyone in the pompa. At a crossroads stands a statue of a she-wolf suckling Romulus and Remus. Here, tradition calls for a brief pause. The procession halts, and the high priest steps forward with a small offering of grain and salt. He sprinkles it at the statue's base, invoking the founding story of Rome. The crowd falls silent, honoring the moment. You close your eyes and imagine the Tiber's banks, the wildness tempered by human will. The ritual reminds you that your steps trace paths established centuries ago. When the horns sound again, the procession resumes. You pass the Arch of Titus, its carved reliefs depicting triumphal scenes of soldiers carrying spoils. Marble figures seem to watch as you go by, their stone gazes solemn yet proud. A gust of wind carries the scent of laurel leaves from a nearby wreath vendor. The fragrance mingles with the warmth of the sun, infusing the air with a sense of victory tempered by remembrance. The Colosseum looms before you now, an immense oval of travertine rising against the sky. The Valeria, partially unfurled, billow like sails in a gentle breeze, casting dappled shade. The crowd's hum grows louder, a low murmur that pulses like a distant sea. You feel no fear, only a calm readiness sharpened by the morning's rituals. The structure's sheer scale reminds you of Rome's reach, yet the familiarity of its corridors makes it feel almost like an extension of the Ludus. The pompa enters through the triumphal gate. Cool shadows replace sunlight as you step beneath the arch. The air smells of damp stone, oil, and faint smoke from torches. You hear the scrape of wheels as stagehands maneuver props for later reenactments. The hypogeum's machinery creaks softly, a subterranean heartbeat. Attendants guide the procession along the gallery that circles the arena. You glance through archways, catching glimpses of the crowd filling seats. Senators in white togas, merchants in dyed tunics, matrons with veiled heads. Their faces blur into a mosaic of expectation. Before reaching the fighters' staging area, the procession pauses at an altar dedicated to Fortuna. A priestess offers a bowl of fresh water and invites each participant to dip their fingers. You follow suit, letting the cool water trail across your brow. "Fortune favors the calm," she whispers, her words knit seamlessly into the day's theme. You descend a ramp into the cellars where gladiators prepare. The air grows cooler, tinged with the smell of earth and iron. Torches flicker along the walls, casting long shadows. You hear the distant roar of animals housed in cages, lions and leopards, waiting for the morning's venationes. Their sounds reach you as muffled vibrations rather than sharp cries, a reminder of Rome's vast menagerie. Stagehands move past carrying baskets of crimson cloth and polished shields for the mythic reenactments. In the staging chamber, attendants help you don armor. The bronze cuirass settles against your chest, fitting like a second skin. Straps tighten around your shoulders, firm but not constricting. Marcus arrives to inspect the fit, checking that the shoulder guards align properly. "Remember the breath counts," he says softly. You nod, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, letting the rhythm calm your pulse. The helmet goes on last, but for now you hold it beside you, appreciative of the airflow on your face. While waiting, you listen to the chorus of the arena. Vendors call out offerings of almonds and diluted wine. The crowd's murmur rises and falls like a living thing. Musicians rehearse a melody on pipes, the notes echoing faintly down the corridors. You close your eyes briefly, mapping each sound to its source, weaving them into a tapestry that steadies you rather than overwhelms. An attendant informs you that the procession will soon re-enter the arena for the ceremonial introduction. You adjust the blue ribbon hidden beneath your wraps, feeling its smooth texture. Dacius tests the weight of his trident, twirling it gently before resting it upright. Sabinus approaches with a small clay dish holding incense. "For focus," he says. The smoke curls upward, fragrant with frankincense and myrrh, and you let it waft past your face, inhaling the grounding scent. When the signal comes, you and your comrades file through the archway into the bright arena. The sudden sunlight dazzles, but you maintain steady vision by focusing on the arena floor's sand, raked into concentric circles. The crowd erupts in applause, yet your mind remains anchored to the slow cadence practiced all morning. You march to the center, forming a semicircle around the editor's podium. Your helmet reflects sunlight. You lower it onto your head with deliberate grace, the world narrowing to the visor's frame. The editor rises, flanked by the senator and his retinue. He raises his hand, and the crowd quiets. One by one, fighters salute, raising weapons and intoning the ritual phrase, Ave, qui morituri te salutant, though tradition rather than literal intent guides the words today. Your voice is steady, resonant within the helmet. The senator acknowledges you with a nod, his expression appreciative. After the salute, the herald announces the day's program. As he speaks, you observe the arena's details, the trapdoors that will release animals, the painted scenery awaiting reenactment actors, the awnings that ripple overhead. You feel the sand's warmth through your sandals. Despite the grandeur, you remain grounded in the simplicity of breath and posture. With introductions complete, the fighters are dismissed to the staging levels. On the way, a young spectator's voice rings out from the first tier, "May the gods keep you safe." The sincerity catches you off guard. You glance up, meeting the child's wide eyes. You place a hand over your heart and bow slightly, silently promising to honor the trust conveyed. Back in the corridors, you await the midday performances that precede your bout. The time passes through a series of small, calming rituals. You polish the rim of your shield, ensuring the bronze gleams softly. You trace the lines of a carved palm frond on the handle, recalling victories that earned it. Dacius, and you rehearse hand signals to coordinate the drawn outcome. The gestures are subtle, a brief tilt of the shield, a shift of weight, a shared nod. The synchronization feels like a dance choreographed through friendship. While you wait, a messenger from the editor delivers instructions for the procession's closing moment. After the final bout, the fighters are to circle the arena once more, acknowledging the crowd's support. The messenger emphasizes the importance of a serene exit, reinforcing the day's tone. You accept the message with a calm smile, grateful that serenity guides every phase. As midday approaches, you take a final walk along the underground corridor that opens to a view of the arena floor through a small grate. From here, you watch the Venetians begin. Hunters emerge with spears, facing boars that charge across the sand. The spectacle is fierce, yet choreographed to minimize bloodshed per the editor's command. The crowd's cheers swell, rumbling through the stone like distant thunder. You observe with compassionate detachment, sending silent thanks when each hunter's blade finds a path that ends the chase swiftly. The scent of crushed herbs drifts down from the staging area, where actors prepare to reenact the myth of Orpheus. You listen as lyres strum mournful notes, the melody tender and slow. The music seeps into your bones, adding layers of calm. You imagine the myth unfolding, Orpheus soothing beasts with song mirroring the day's intent to weave tranquility through spectacle. Finally, a trumpet call signals that your moment draws near. You square your shoulders, adjust the grip on your shield, and meet Dacius's gaze. Together, you breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 2, exhale for 6. The coordination confirms your shared readiness. The corridor ahead glows with sunlight slanting through the archway. As you step toward it, the arena's roar swells once more, not as menace, but as a vast ocean upon which you will glide with practiced ease. You descend once more into the hypogeum, the vast network of corridors beneath the arena floor. The air cools immediately, carrying the mineral scent of damp stone mixed with oil from torches. Wooden walkways stretch over pits and compartments where animals and stage machinery wait. The dim light turns bronze armor to burnished shadows. You move carefully, mindful of the ropes and pulleys that crisscross above like the rigging of a ship. Handlers guide the beasts with quiet efficiency. A leopard rests in a cage, its golden eyes watching from behind iron bars. Nearby, a pair of Nubian ostriches ruffle their feathers, calm under the care of a patient attendant. The animal's presence reminds you that the Colosseum is both theater and menagerie, a convergence of the empire's distant corners. Yet even here, tranquility prevails. The handlers speak in low voices, stroking fur and feathers to soothe the creatures before their appearance. You find a bench carved into the wall where fighters wait for their call. The wood is smooth from countless hours of vigil. Dacius sits beside you, coiling his net with practiced precision. He double-checks each knot, ensuring the weight distribution will allow subtle throws. The crowd is gentle today, he observes. You can hear the difference. You listen. The arena above murmurs rather than roars, a sign that the earlier displays succeeded in calming the audience's mood. Marcus arrives, carrying a small jar of olive oil infused with rosemary. He kneels to inspect the straps on your greaves, tightening each buckle. "Keep your knees soft," he reminds, echoing the morning drills. He rubs a little oil along your temples, its warmth easing the bands of tension that form beneath the helmet. The scent of rosemary sharpens your focus while evoking the herb gardens behind the Ludus. Marcus's presence steadies you. He has guided countless fighters through these corridors, and his calm is contagious. To your right, Sabinus lights a brazier where sprigs of laurel and myrrh smolder. Smoke drifts upward, carrying protective prayers whispered in Latin and his native Oscan. He offers each fighter a moment to pass through the scented veil. When you step forward, the smoke brushes your cheeks like a blessing. You close your eyes and imagine the particles forming a shield around your thoughts, keeping them serene even when the bout begins. The hypogeum hums with quiet activity. Stagehands check the winches that raise scenery. Carpenters tap wooden beams, confirming their stability. The editor's steward walks by, eyes scanning the preparations with a practiced gaze. He stops to relay the final cue. After the Orpheus reenactment concludes, trumpeters will signal the transition to the gladiatorial bouts. You nod, grateful for the clarity. Timelines matter. They allow your mind to settle into predictable rhythms. While you wait, you run fingertips along the edge of your shield, tracing every curve. The bronze feels cool, the leather grip firm. You test the balance with small rotations, ensuring your wrist remains supple. Dacius practices wrist flicks with his trident, the prongs slicing silently through air. The two of you exchange a quiet glance, reinforcing trust without words. In this underground chamber, camaraderie glows like a hearth. From above comes the faint music of the reenactment. Lyres strum a melancholy melody. Voices sing of love's power to quell even the fiercest beasts. The sound filters through cracks in the wooden floor, a gentle reminder of the myth's lesson: harmony can tame chaos. You let the song weave through your thoughts, aligning your heartbeat with its slow tempo. Between the music's verses, you hear the creak of a gate as a cage door slides open. A pair of stagehands guide a bear toward a lift, its massive paws padded with leather to soften the sound. The bear snorts softly, more curious than restless. The handlers hum to it, using the same tune they've repeated for months to keep it calm. Their dedication impresses you. They, too, serve the arena's rhythm with patience and care. Valeria appears with a small bowl of water infused with chamomile and thyme. She offers it for rinsing your mouth, a ritual believed to clear speech and breath. The liquid is cool, herbal notes lingering on your tongue. For clarity, she says, her eyes shine with quiet pride. You stand ready, you thank her, savoring the reassurance. Time stretches in the hypodium, elastic yet purposeful. You focus on the small details that keep anxiety at bay. The soft scratch of your linen wraps against your wrists, the steady drip of water somewhere in the shadows, the flicker of torchlight along stone arches. A rat scurries across a beam overhead, pausing to look down before disappearing into the maze. Even this tiny creature seems part of the Colosseum's living tapestry. Marcus gathers the fighters, scheduled for the upcoming sequence, and guides a brief visualization. See yourselves moving with control, he murmurs. Feel the sand respond to each step. Hear the crowd breathe with you. You follow the imagery, picturing the arena as a calm lake and your movements as ripples that travel outward, gentle yet visible. The visualization settles your muscles into readiness without tension. When the Orpheus performance reaches its climax, the music swells, then fades. Silence hangs for a heartbeat, followed by the clear tone of the trumpets, signaling the gladiatorial phase. Your pulse remains steady. Marcus squeezes your shoulder one last grounding touch. Go with grace, he whispers. You and Dacius, accompanied by 2 attendants, walk toward the lift that will carry you to arena level. The wooden platform creaks beneath your combined weight. Chains clank softly as stagehands ready the mechanism. The lift's enclosure is narrow, forcing you to stand close. Dacius adjusts the net draped over his arm, ensuring the weights align. You test your grip on the shield, bending your knees to maintain balance. Before the lift ascends, Sabinus offers a final blessing, drawing a circle in the air with his finger. Let Nemesis guide your measure, he says. The phrase resonates, reinforcing your commitment to balance rather than domination. You nod, feeling the words settle like a stone in a still pond. The lift begins to rise. Darkness gives way gradually to light seeping through gaps in the platform above. As you ascend, you hear the crowd's breath, a collective inhalation anticipating your appearance. The sand's scent reaches you warm, slightly sweet. Your heart beats in time with the creak of the lift's wheels. You inhale slowly, counting to 4, hold for 2, exhale for 6. The rhythm grounds you. The platform emerges into the sunlit arena. The light washes over you, bright but not harsh thanks to the Valaria's shade. You step off the lift with measured stride, shield held close, gladius resting along your leg. The sand yields softly under your sandals, its heat gentle against your skin. Dacius moves to your left, net poised, trident gleaming. The crowd responds with a warm murmur, appreciative rather than frenzied. You and Dacius bow toward the editor's podium, savoring the peaceful hum that answers. Although the bout has not yet begun, the moments beneath the arena linger in your mind. The hypogeum's quiet rituals oil, smoke, whispered blessings wrap around you like a protective mantle. You carry them onto the sand, ready to weave the calm below into the performance above. The subterranean world may be hidden, but its serenity infuses every step you take in the sun. The arena transitions gracefully from myth to martial display. You stand just within the shadow of an archway, observing as the midday spectacle unfolds. The herald announces the venations, and hunters step onto the sand with deliberate calm. They salute the editor, then take positions near concealed gates. Trumpets sound a gentle fanfare, signaling the release of the first animal, a sleek panther that glides into the sunlight like liquid night. The crowd exhales in collective awe. The hunters move with choreographed precision. Instead of charging, they circle, guiding the panther with the soft crack of their whips against sand rather than flesh. One extends a padded pole, offering a target for the animal to swat. The panther obliges, claws sheathed, more playful than enraged. The crowd murmurs appreciation for the restraint. You watch the exchange, noting how the hunter's breath remains controlled, their movements echoing the discipline Marcus instilled in morning drills. Next, a pair of leopards enters, their coats dappled gold and black. They chase tossed bundles of cloth scented with game, turning the arena into a graceful dance. The spectacle emphasizes coexistence rather than conquest, aligning with the editor's desire for serene entertainment. The crowd applauds softly, fascinated by the animal's agility. You feel a ripple of gratitude. The day's tone remains gentle, reinforcing your own composure. As the venaciones conclude, stagehands swiftly smooth the sand, raking patterns that catch the sunlight. Actors emerge for a brief tableau representing the judgment of Paris, each step measured, each gesture graceful. The myth unfolds with whispered dialogue, audible only to those nearby, yet the visual storytelling captivates the audience. You admire the way art, myth, and history interlace in the arena, binding Rome's past to its present. During a brief intermission, water carriers circulate, offering cool drinks to spectators. Vendors move along the corridors, their calls subdued. Rosewater, almonds, fresh dates. The sounds float to where you stand, blending with the murmurs of conversation. The crowd's relaxed energy confirms that the editor's goal, comfort rather than frenzy, is fulfilled. You let the serenity seep into your bones, preparing you for the bout ahead. The herald returns to announce a display of equestrian skill. The gates open, and 4 riders gallop into the arena, their horses' hooves pounding a steady rhythm. The riders leap from saddles to stand atop the animals' backs, arms extended. The horses remain calm, guided by soft commands and gentle pressure. Dust rises in graceful spirals. As the riders complete a synchronized bow, the crowd responds with appreciative applause. You inhale the scent of stirred sand, identifying the subtle note of horse sweat, a fragrance you associate with long hours of training in the circus. Following the horses, a troop of Sagittarii archers takes the stage. They demonstrate accuracy by shooting arrows through suspended rings. Each arrow whistles softly before striking its mark with a satisfying thud. The archer's breathing appears as disciplined as yours, each shot released on a steady exhale. The display reminds you that every discipline within the arena relies on the harmony between mind and body. As the sun arcs toward its zenith, the crowd remains shading itself beneath the velaria, the massive awnings casting cool patterns. You feel the sun's warmth along your forearms but welcome it, knowing that by the time your bout begins, the light will have softened. The breeze carries a distant hint of the Tiber's waters, refreshing the air that circulates through the amphitheater's open corridors. Between performances, you and Dacius review your signals. He taps the butt of his trident twice against the sand to indicate a feint. You respond with a tilt of your shield to acknowledge. The coordination feels natural now, a language developed through countless training hours. Marcus watches from the sidelines, arms folded, lips curved in a subtle smile. His presence reminds you that discipline stretches like a bridge between the Ludus and the arena. The final spectacle before your bout features a reenactment of a naval skirmish, staged symbolically rather than with actual water. By the editor's command, the scene remains suggestive instead of perilous. Its painted waves meant to calm the citizens as much as to impress them. Painted panels representing ships are wheeled into the arena. Performers wield wooden oars and spears, choreographing a slow-motion battle. The music accompanying the reenactment is low and rhythmic, mimicking waves. The audience watches attentively, soothed by the elegant representation of warfare without harshness. You appreciate how Rome's history is retold in this gentle form, offering the crowd pride without agitation. During the changeover, attendants sprinkle the sand with perfumed water to keep dust low. The scent of lavender and pine drifts across the arena, intermingling with the smell of oiled gear. You take a deep breath, feeling lungs expand, and notice how the aroma relaxes muscles in your neck. Such details, though small, influence the body's state. The organizers understand this, infusing the spectacle with signals designed to maintain composure. The herald raises his staff to announce the next phase. Citizens of Rome, he calls, voice clear and resonant. Prepare to witness the art of the arena, where courage walks hand in hand with measured grace. The phrase delights you. It mirrors your own intention. The crowd answers with a swell of anticipatory applause. You and Darkius exchange a reassuring nod. Before stepping onto the sand, you close your eyes briefly and feel the vibrations of the arena travel through your souls. The midday spectacle has been a tapestry of controlled artistry. Its calm currents carry you forward, ready to add your own thread with the bout to come. The herald's announcement fades as attendants guide you and Dacius into the preparation alcove just inside the arena gate. Sunlight filters through the archway, illuminating dust motes that drift like tiny stars. This is the liminal space between waiting and performance, where rituals gather into a final chorus. You remove your cloak, folding it neatly and placing it atop a wooden chest. The air here carries the mingled scents of leather, metal polish, and the lavender water sprinkled moments ago. Marcus approaches with the focus of a sculptor. He inspects the straps of your cuirass, tugging each gently to ensure security. Weight balanced, he asks. You roll your shoulders, feeling the armor settle evenly. Balanced, you reply. Marcus nods. He then presses his thumb lightly against the base of your throat. Breathe to this point, he reminds. You obey, drawing in air until it fills the space he indicated, then releasing slowly. The breathing exercise centers you, aligning body and mind. Valeria joins with a small basket containing bandages, salves, and a vial of diluted wine. She dabs the wine along your brow to cool the skin, then swipes a line of oil across your cheeks to keep the helmet from chafing. For clarity, she says, echoing her earlier blessing. She hands you a sprig of rue tied with red thread. Keep this inside the helmet. It wards wandering thoughts. You tuck the sprig above the forehead band, inhaling its herbal scent. Sabinus steps forward, carrying a shallow dish of glowing embers. He sprinkles powdered resin, releasing fragrant smoke. You hold your hands above the dish, letting the warmth seep into your palms. By your oath, breathe steady, he murmurs the phrase inscribed in the glossary of house sayings. The words settle around you like a cloak. Dacius repeats them softly, reinforcing the shared oath. Gaius Aelius arrives, the Lanista's presence anchoring the moment. He meets your gaze. Remember the senator's request. Show the crowd the harmony that discipline yields. His tone is gentle yet resolute. He touches the bronze coin of Nemesis tucked into your belt, then taps Dacius's trident. Trust the choreography you planned. Let the outcome feel inevitable. His confidence spreads through you, sharpening focus without stirring nerves. Before the call comes, Marcus leads a final mantra. He traces a circle in the air to symbolize the arena, then divides it into quadrants, representing stages of the bout. Approach, exchange, pause, resolution. Move through each with intention, he instructs. You visualize the quadrants, seeing yourself advance, engage, retreat in unison with Dacius. The imagery clarifies the sequence. Trumpets sound in the arena 3 steady notes. The gate attendant raises a hand, signaling you to ready yourselves. You place the helmet on your head, adjusting the cheek guards until they rest comfortably. The world narrows to the visor's opening, framing the sunlight-splashed sand beyond. You slip your arm through the shield straps, ensuring your grip is firm yet flexible. The gladius nestles in your palm, its weight familiar. Dacius adjusts his net, ensuring the weights hang evenly. Just before the gate opens, you whisper a prayer to Nemesis. Guide my measure, keep my heart even. The words echo softly inside the helmet. Dacius touches his trident to the ground, a gesture of grounding. Marcus gives a final nod, then steps back. The gate creaks upward, bright light spills in, washing over your armor. The crowd's murmur swells, but you hear it as a low tide rather than a roar. You step onto the sand with deliberate pace, each footfall planting confidence. Dacius walks beside you, the net draped over his arm like a silken cloud. Together, you cross the arena toward the editor's podium, saluting with synchronized movements. The senator leans forward, eyes keen. You sense approval in his poised expression. After the salute, you and Dacius move to opposite sides of the arena to begin the performance. The sand beneath your feet feels warm, textured by the rake's recent path. You position yourself near one of the painted panels depicting laurel branches, using it as a reference point for the choreographed steps. Across the way, Dacius tests the slack of his net, ensuring it will unfurl smoothly. The herald raises his staff, and the arena falls into expectant silence. You hear your own breath within the helmet, steady and controlled. The first phase begins with you advancing 3 measured steps, shield raised, gladius held at low guard. Dacius circles gracefully, trident poised. The crowd observes, entranced by the slow build. This is the call to arms, not a clash, but a ritual unveiling of the discipline forged within the Ludus. You stand in the arena's embrace, shield forward, gladius angled downward, breath flowing like a quiet stream. Dacius circles to your left, net held loosely, trident gleaming. The sun filters through the velaria, casting soft stripes of light across the sand. The crowd leans in, thousands of eyes witnessing a performance built on trust. The herald lowers his staff. The bout begins. Phase 1 unfolds as practiced. You advance with 3 measured steps, shield leading. Dacius responds with a sweeping arc, the net unfurling in a controlled wave. You pivot, allowing the net to brush the shield's edge, then glide your gladius along the rim, demonstrating the Murmillo's defensive mastery. The choreography reads as a conversation attack translated into artful restraint. The crowd murmurs appreciation for the elegance. Your partner feints left, trident poised to strike. You respond by lowering your center of gravity, planting the shield's rim into the sand for stability. The trident's prongs touch the shield, producing a soft clang that rings like a bell. You let the vibration course through your arm, grounding you. On the next beat, you step forward, gladius flicking toward Dacius's shoulder. The blade stops inches away, halted by shared intent. He shifts, rolling his shoulder to transform the near strike into a demonstration of escape. The audience applauds the precise control. The second phase emphasizes maneuvering. Dacius casts the net gently, allowing it to drape over your shield. You could cut through it, yet the choreography calls for patience. You rotate the shield, lifting your gladius to catch a weight and easing the mesh away. The movement resembles a dancer unfurling a veil. The sunlight catches the net's cords, creating a shimmer that softens the scene. You hear a child gasp in delight. The reaction affirms that the bout achieves its goal, a spectacle that comforts rather than alarms. You respond with a counter, a sweeping strike aimed low, halting before contact. Sand sprays lightly as the blade carves a crescent. Dacius hops back, securing the net, then lunges with the trident toward your shield's upper rim. You raise the shield, deflecting the blow upward, and step inside the reach. For a heartbeat, the two of you stand close, breath mingling, eyes meeting through helmet slits. Friendship anchors the moment. You whisper, "Now we glide." Dacius nods. Phase 3 introduces heightened energy while maintaining calm. You execute a series of strikes that increase in speed, yet remain controlled. Each is parried or dodged with grace. He responds with rotational attacks, the trident describing slow arcs that show his reach advantage. The choreography allows you to showcase the Murmillo's resilience, absorbing pressure without faltering. The crowd responds to the rising tempo with appreciative murmurs, yet the tone remains serene. Midway through the bout, you incorporate a shield rush, pushing forward with a steady shove. Dacius yields ground, letting the rush carry him toward the arena's edge. You count your breaths, even here in for 4, out for 6, so the motion never tips into haste. At the last step, he rolls aside, sweeping the net to entangle your ankles. The cord brushes your greaves but fails to snare by design. You lift your foot, letting the audience see the near entrapment. The net's weighted knots thud softly against the sand. You pivot, raising your gladius in salute to acknowledge the clever attempt. The gesture earns applause, a gentle wave of appreciation that washes over the arena. You transition into the choreographed finale. The plan calls for a false advantage that leads to mutual recognition of skill. You advance, pressing Dacius toward the center. He parries, net draped across his arm. On the next beat, he lunges with the trident. You catch it with your shield, twisting so the shaft slides past, leaving you inside his guard. Your gladius rests against his chest armor, poised yet unmoving. The crowd rises slightly, sensing culmination. Dacius meets your eyes and gives the subtle nod the cue for the draw. Together, you freeze in the tableau, embodying tension suspended. Then, in unison, you step back. You lower your weapons, spreading arms slightly to show the absence of aggression. Your partner allows the net to drop to the sand, its weightless fall accentuating peace. The editor observes intently. You tilt your shield toward him, lowering your gladius in a respectful salute. The timing aligns perfectly. He raises his hand, signaling mercy and acknowledgement of the draw. Relief blossoms quietly within you, not because you feared a different outcome, but because the choreography succeeded in conveying harmony. The crowd erupts, not with frenzied screams, but with a sustained, warm applause. The sound rolls over you like a gentle tide. You and Dacius circle each other, exchanging a bow that communicates mutual respect. Marcus's smile from the sidelines glows with pride. Gaius Aelius inclines his head, satisfied that the senator's request was fulfilled. As the applause continues, you complete the final gesture, a synchronized salute to the four corners of the arena. You turn toward the north, raising your gladius, toward the south, lifting your shield, toward east and west, nodding deeply. The movement acknowledges the crowd, the gods, your comrades, and the city itself. Dacius mirrors each step, net gathered neatly, trident held upright like a standard. The ritual binds the performance into memory. After the formal gestures, you approach the editor's podium. The senator stands, clapping slowly, his eyes gleaming. He tosses a palm branch token onto the sand, the sign of approval. An attendant retrieves it and presents it to you. The wooden stem feels smooth, the fronds fresh and fragrant. You share the token with Dacius, breaking off a small segment for him to tuck into his belt. The shared token symbolizes shared acclaim. You exit the arena through the gate reserved for victors, steps measured, posture poised. Behind you, the crowd's applause fades into contented murmurs. As you enter the shadows of the hypogeum, the cool air embraces you. Marcus meets you first, pressing his hand against your shoulder. Precisely as planned, he says. His voice holds pride and relief. You remove the helmet, letting fresh air wash over your face. Sweat cools quickly, leaving your skin tingling. Valeria appears, offering a cloth soaked in rosewater to wipe your brow. No cuts, steady pulse, she observes. She checks your wrists for strain, finding none. She hands you a cup of honeyed water. You sip slowly, savoring the sweetness as it glides down your throat. The drink replenishes without overwhelming. Dacius drinks from a similar cup, eyes shining. Sabinus presents the bronze coin of Nemesis you carried earlier. She smiled on you, he says. You nod, grateful. The coin's surface is warm from staying against your body. You slip it back into your belt, ready to return it to the shrine later. Gaius Aelius arrives, his expression composed yet pleased. The senator was moved, he reports. He remarked that you taught the crowd how discipline softens fear. The compliment warms you. Gaius continues. He granted a spartio of laurel leaves to the audience in your honor. You recall the practice distributing small gifts to spectators and imagine the leaves fluttering like green snow. The image delights you. Marcus instructs you and Dacius to perform gentle stretches to prevent stiffness. You obey, rolling shoulders, bending knees, easing muscles used during the bout. The movements feel like a continuation of the choreography, a coda to the performance. Dacius laughs softly. We'll need to retell this day in the courtyard tonight, he says. You agree. The story will become part of the Ludus' collective memory. Before you depart the hypogeum, a young apprentice approaches with wax tablets. The editor requests a brief account of your bout for the records, he explains. You dictate a concise summary. Bout executed as planned. Harmony emphasized. Draw signaled by shared salute. Crowd responded with calm admiration. The apprentice etches your words carefully, ensuring the day's tale endures in official archives. You return to the holding chamber to remove armor. Each strap loosens with satisfying ease. The cuirass comes off, leaving your skin cool. You hang the armor on its rack, running a cloth over the bronze to remove any lingering sand. The gladius is cleaned and sheathed. Ritual extends to maintenance. Caring for equipment honors the craft. Once unarmored, you wrap a light linen cloak around your shoulders. The fabric absorbs residual sweat, keeping you comfortable. Valeria applies a salve infused with arnica to your shoulders to prevent soreness, massaging in gentle circles. Her touch is both skillful and caring. Rest will seal today's work, she advises. Before leaving the hypogeum, you pause at the brazier where Sabinus keeps the laurel embers. You drop a fragment of the palm token into the glowing coals, watching as it curls and turns to ash. Gratitude, you whisper. The smoke rises, carrying your thanks to the gods who guard balance. You ascend the ramp toward the amphitheater's inner corridor. The crowd's applause has quieted, replaced by the subdued hum of ongoing performances. Vendors resume soft calls, and a group of musicians plays a gentle tune near the exit. As you walk, cooler air brushes your skin, mingling with the faint scent of roasted chestnuts from a nearby stall. The world feels both expansive and intimate, an empire's heart beating in measured rhythm. The bout has ended, yet its resonance lingers. Your body hums with calm energy, your mind replaying the synchronized movements that transformed conflict into communion. The sand remembers, as Rufina said earlier, and so do you. You carry the memory like a lamp, its glow guiding you toward the afternoon's quieter celebrations. You exit the arena corridors into a sunlit gallery reserved for post-bout proceedings. The air is cooler here, shaded by arches that frame glimpses of the crowd still settled in their seats. A gentle breeze carries the scent of laurel and citrus. Attendants greet you with warm smiles, guiding you toward a line of tables where refreshments await. Bowls of grapes, figs, and almonds glisten under the filtered light. You select a handful of grapes, their skins cool against your palm, and savor the burst of sweetness that refreshes your mouth. The medical inspection follows immediately. Valeria leads you into a small chamber with plastered walls painted in soothing blues. She checks your pulse, counts breaths, and examines limbs for unseen injuries. Her touch is gentle, yet thorough. No strain, she confirms, pleased. She applies a thin layer of salve to your wrists, where the linen wraps left faint impressions. The salve smells of chamomile and soft earth. Rest and warm water later, she advises. You nod, storing the instructions for evening. Dacius undergoes the same examination, emerging with a grin. Healer says I move like a reed in the breeze. He boasts quietly. You laugh softly, appreciating the shared relief. Marcus joins you both, offering a canteen of diluted wine. You drink in small sips, letting the liquid drape warmth across your chest. Soon a messenger from the senator's dais arrives, bearing token gifts. He presents you with a wreath of fresh laurel leaves bound by a ribbon the color of dawn. He praises the serenity of your performance, noting how the crowd remained attentive and calm. The senator was particularly moved by your salute to each quadrant of the arena, he says. He wishes Rome's youths to learn from your restraint. The compliment humbles you. You incline your head, thanking the messenger. Another gift follows, small leather pouches filled with coins stamped with the Augustala's insignia. The amount is modest but meaningful. You tuck the pouch into your belt, grateful for the tangible acknowledgement. Dacius receives an identical pouch and winks. Supplies for the Ludus library. He suggests he loves purchasing scrolls for shared reading. You agree, already imagining evenings spent exploring new tales. As part of the day's rituals, you attend a brief audience with the senator himself. Guided by attendants, you walk along a corridor adorned with mosaics depicting Rome's victories. The senator waits in a shaded alcove, wearing a toga edged in purple. His eyes are kind, his posture relaxed. You honored the spirit of Rome, he tells you. In your calm, the crowd found reassurance. He extends a hand, offering a small carved figure of Nemesis, fashioned from ivory. May she continue to balance your steps. You accept the figure reverently, promising to place it in the Ludus shrine. Leaving the alcove, you encounter a matron and her young son seated on a bench along the corridor. The boy clutches a wooden toy shield, eyes wide with admiration. The matron nods respectfully. Your composure soothed him, she says. The boy whispers, I watched how you breathed. It made me brave. You crouch to meet his gaze. Breath is the anchor, you tell him gently. Even when the world grows loud, you can find calm by listening to your own breath. He nods solemnly, and his mother smiles, gratitude shining in her eyes. The exchange warms you deeply. After formalities, you return to the fighters' gallery, where a communal table has been set with light fare. Cheese, bread, olives, and chilled water infused with slices of citrus. The cohort gathers, sharing quiet conversation. Rufina recounts her match, emphasizing the moment when she chose to spare her opponent to align with the day's tone. Flammer describes the crowd's reaction to his endurance display, his laughter rolling like distant thunder. You share highlights from your bout, focusing on the crowd's softened energy and the senator's praise. The exchange reinforces camaraderie, knitting the cohort tighter. Sabinus circulates with a small scroll, requesting signatures to acknowledge receipt of tokens. You take the stylus, pressing your name into the wax with deliberate strokes. The act feels ceremonial, sealing the day's honor. Sabinus thanks you, his eyes reflecting pride. Before returning to the Ludus, you take time to walk along the Colosseum's inner corridor. Through archways you see vendors tidying stalls and spectators preparing to depart. The structure's vastness humbles you, yet your steps remain light, buoyed by the day's success. You pause at an opening that overlooks the arena floor. The sand bears faint impressions from earlier performances, the concentric rake lines disrupted by footprints. A shaft of sunlight pierces the Valeria, illuminating a small patch where your gladius paused against Dacius's chest. You feel the memory settle inside you like a warm ember. As you watch, a flock of pigeons swoops across the open top, their wings scattering shimmering dust. The sight reminds you of Creto's dreamhawk transformed into observer rather than hunter. The arena feels like a living organism, breathing slowly now that the main spectacle has passed. You whisper a soft thank you to the space itself. On your way out, you stop by a vendor who offers small clay tablets stamped with designs commemorating the day's games. You purchase one bearing the image of a Murmillo and a Retiarius standing side by side. The vendor wraps it in linen, smiling knowingly. A memory to keep the calm near, she says. You tuck the bundle into your satchel. Once outside, the afternoon sun warms your face. The city's noise feels gentle, as if filtered through the Valeria's shade. You rejoin the cohort as they gather near the main gate. Gaius Aelius performs a final head count, confirming everyone's safe return. He lifts his hand, signaling the procession's conclusion. "We go home," he says softly. The words carry relief and pride. You walk back to the Ludus along the same streets traveled earlier, yet the atmosphere has shifted. Spectators return to their daily routines. Vendors pack away wares. Some passers-by recognize you, offering nods or whispers of appreciation. A baker hands you a small loaf seasoned with herbs. "For strength," he says. You accept with gratitude, planning to share it during the evening meal. As you near the Ludus gate, the familiar walls come into view, bathed in afternoon light. The scent of cooking herbs drifts from the kitchen, promising comfort. Inside, attendants cheer softly, relieved to see everyone safe. The courtyard fills with relaxed laughter. Marcus claps his hands once, calling for a brief debrief. You gather around him as he praises the cohort's composure and recounts moments of exceptional discipline. When he mentions your synchronized salute, the group nods approvingly. After the debrief, Sabinus escorts you to the armory to store the palm token and laurel wreath until the evening ceremony. You place the wreath on a hook beside previous honors, its leaves glimmering. The palm fragment you kept rests atop a shelf dedicated to mementos, joining rows of tokens that track the Ludus's storied past. Before departing the armory, you hold the ivory nemesis figure in your palm. The carving is delicate, depicting the goddess with wings unfurled. You run a thumb along the smooth surface, feeling a renewed sense of balance. You promise silently to place it in the shrine after the communal meal. The afternoon wanes gently. Responsibilities fulfilled, you prepare for the evening communion that will celebrate and reflect upon the day's achievements. The honors bestowed in the arena feel less like laurels placed upon you and more like threads woven into the fabric of the Ludus. With gratitude steady in your chest, you step toward the next chapter of the day, ready to share stories under the lengthening shadows. Twilight settles over the Ludus, casting the courtyard in hues of amber and rose. The day's tension has softened into a gentle hum of satisfaction. You gather with your comrades beneath the pergola, where vines heavy with late-season grapes dangle like clusters of stars. Lamps are lit one by one, their flames flickering in shallow bronze bowls. The scent of simmering stew drifts from the kitchen, mingled with the herbal aroma of bay leaves and thyme. The evening meal begins with a blessing led by the Lanista. Gaius Aelius raises a cup of watered wine and speaks of gratitude for safe returns, for the senator's favor, for the steadfastness of the cohort. His words flow slowly, giving each sentiment time to settle. You lift your own cup in unison with the others, clinking rims softly. The sound chimes like distant bells. Sabinus and the kitchen attendants serve a hearty stew of lentils, vegetables, and tender cuts of meat. You ladle a portion into your bowl, feeling the warmth seep into your hands through the clay. The first spoonful comforts immediately, rich with flavors layered by hours of slow cooking. Bread, still warm from the hearth, passes down the table. You tear a piece and dip it into the stew, savoring the mingled textures. The meal nourishes body and spirit alike. Conversation flows in gentle currents. Rufina recounts a moment from her match when the crowd held its breath, then sighed in relief as she chose mercy. Flamma shares a quiet joke about a stagehand who nearly splashed himself with perfume while spritzing the sand. Laughter ripples, soft and genuine. You describe the young boy in the corridor who found courage through breathing. The story draws smiles and murmurs of approval. Decius raises his cup in a toast to the unseen bonds that keep the Ludus steady. After the meal, Marcus invites everyone to the courtyard center for storytelling, a cherished tradition on days of significant games. The sky fades to deep indigo, stars beginning to pierce the dusk. Torches cast warm circles of light on the stone. You sit on a low bench while Marcus begins, his voice resonant. He speaks of a long-ago bout in Capua where a gladiator earned freedom by showing mercy, drawing parallels to the restraint displayed today. The tale soothes, reinforcing the value of composure. When Marcus finishes, he encourages others to speak. Decius stands, net folded under his arm like a shawl, and narrates the afternoon's choreography from his perspective. He describes the thrill of feeling the crowd's attention shift from expectation of violence to appreciation of harmony. His words glow with pride. The cohort listens attentively, nodding along. You add your own reflections, emphasizing the moment when the editor raised his hand to signal the draw. It felt as if the entire arena exhaled together, you say. The others agree, some placing hands over their hearts to recall the shared breath. Sabinus brings out a small drum and begins a slow rhythm, inviting a communal chant. The cohort joins, voices blending into a wordless hum that imitates the sound of wind moving through cypress branches. The chant is soothing, meditative. You close your eyes and let the vibrations settle in your bones. Lyrics eventually emerge, phrases honoring Nemesis, Hercules, and the household lares. The song drapes over the courtyard like a soft blanket. As the chant fades, the priestess of Nemesis enters, drawn by the evening ritual. She carries a bundle of dried herbs and a bronze bowl. She lights the herbs, wafting the smoke around the circle. The day's balance holds, she intones. Carry it into your dreams. She gestures for you to step forward, recognizing your role in the day's harmony. You present the ivory figure gifted by the senator. The priestess places it on the household altar beside offerings of fruit and coins. Nemesis smiles on steady hearts. She declares. Following the ritual, the cohort shares a simple dessert. Honey cakes flavored with orange zest. The sweetness lingers pleasantly. Decius breaks his cake in half, offering you a piece. You accept, appreciating the gesture as continuation of the day's shared honors. Flamma pours a small amount of spiced wine into each cup for a final toast. To the sand that remembers, he says, echoing Rufina's earlier words. Cups rise, and the toast closes the meal with warmth. Later, smaller groups form for quieter conversations. You join Sabinus and Crito near the herb garden. The night air carries the scent of mint and sage. Crito speaks about the hawk dream that transformed as the day unfolded. It watched rather than hunted, he recalls. You nod, assuring him the omen proved benevolent. Sabinus shares stories of his homeland, describing how his family honored the moon with bowls of milk. The intimacy of shared folklore enriches the evening. The Lanista approaches with wax tablets and stylus, inviting anyone who wishes to record reflections. You inscribe a brief account of the dinner's blessings and the chant's resonance. Writing reinforces memory, ensuring the night's peace will be accessible when future storms gather. As the evening deepens, the cohort migrates to the courtyard's periphery, where cushions have been arranged for stargazing. You lie back, feeling the smooth stone warmed by the day's sun. Above, constellations emerge. Orion's belt, the Pleiades, Venus shining near the horizon. The stars appear luminous against the darkening sky. Dacius points out a meteor streaking briefly before dissolving. Gasps and soft laughter follow the fleeting light. Marcus shares the story of how sailors interpret constellations, guiding journeys by Orion's rising. His voice carries the lilt of a lullaby. You absorb the tale, letting it lull mind and body toward restfulness. The air cools gently, and someone drapes a light blanket over your legs. The gesture whispers of community care. Before dispersing for the night, Gaius Aelius leads a final, quiet prayer. He thanks the gods for unity and asks for dreams filled with clarity rather than worry. The cohort responds with a soft chorus of "So be it." The words dissolve into the night, blending with the chirp of crickets and distant murmur of the city. You rise, stretching leisurely. The courtyard glows softly, torches burning low. Comrades bid each other good night with touches to the shoulder or nods of respect. You linger a moment longer, committing the scene to memory. Lanterns swaying gently, vines casting lace-like shadows, friends relaxed and content. This is the communion that fortifies you more than any laurel or token. With a final glance at the starlit sky, you step toward the dormitory, heart warmed by shared stories and songs. The evening's peace settles over you like a cloak, preparing you for the quiet introspection that awaits in the night's final watch. The dormitory is dim when you return, illuminated by a few oil lamps that emit soft golden halos. Shadows stretch across the walls, mingling with the faint scent of lavender sachets placed among fresh linens. Comrades settle into their bunks, their voices reduced to whispers. You move quietly, respectful of those already drifting toward dreams. The day's exertions hover in your limbs like a gentle weight, encouraging rest without urgency. You sit on the edge of your bunk and unwrap the linen bundle containing the clay tablet purchased from the vendor. Carefully, you set it on the small shelf beside your bed. Its depiction of a murmillo and a retiarius, standing side by side, mirrors the harmony achieved today. You run your fingers over the relief, feeling the shallow grooves. The tactile sensation anchors the memory in the present moment. Before lying down, you retrieve your wax tablet and stylus. The habit of nightly reflection steadies your mind. You inscribe deliberate lines. Breath carried me through the arena. The crowd's calm became a sea on which we sailed. Gratitude for comrades, healer, Lanista. Nemesis figure now guards the shrine. Writing the words releases them from your thoughts, freeing space for rest. You place the wax tablet beneath your pillow, an old superstition suggesting that recorded reflections invite peaceful dreams. Then you stand and step lightly to the window, pushing the shutter open a narrow span. Cool night air enters, smelling of distant pine smoke and the Tiber's damp whisper. Rome murmurs softly in the distance, cartwheels rolling, a dog barking once, voices fading into the night. The sounds lull rather than disturb. They remind you that the city continues its slow turn, indifferent to individual victories yet welcoming their gentle resonance. Returning to your bunk, you unroll a small leather pouch containing the blue ribbon and bronze coin of Nemesis. You tie the ribbon to the bedpost where it can sway with any breeze, a quiet emblem of balance. The coin you slip beneath your pillow beside the wax tablet. Its weight reassures, a promise that fortune favors steadiness. You lie back, pulling the blanket over your body. The fabric smells of sun-dried fibers, a comforting familiarity. You position a small cushion beneath your knees, easing the muscles that labored during the bout. Breathing exercises come naturally. Inhale slowly for 4 counts, hold for 2, exhale for 6. Each cycle loosens residual tension. The rhythm matches the cadence of steps taken in the arena, carrying you back through the day in gentle review. Images surface in tranquil sequence. The Predawn courtyard bathed in moonlight, the scent of rosemary oil, the soft applause after the draw, the boy's earnest gaze. Stars shimmering above the evening gathering. None surge with urgency, they drift like leaves on a calm stream. You allow each to pass through awareness, offering silent thanks before letting it glide onward. Sleep does not claim you immediately. Instead, you rest in a twilight of thought. You recall Gaius's words about harmony, Marcus's steady guidance, Valeria's care. Their voices form a lullaby of mentorship. You think of distant family, perhaps unaware of today's events yet connected by the same stars. The thought brings comfort. You whisper a quiet message to them, letting it ride the night air. I am safe. I honor our name with calm. At the foot of your bed, Dacius hums a tune, barely audible. The melody resembles the chant from the courtyard, now slowed and softened. The sound lulls your heartbeat into an even pace. You respond with a gentle tap of fingers against the mattress, an old signal between you acknowledging shared wakefulness. He taps back once, then falls silent. The exchange is wordless yet intimate, affirming companionship even in rest. You close your eyes and envision the arena empty. Sand smooth, torches dimmed, Valaria folded, the vast space holding only the echo of footsteps. In that imagined quiet, you walk across the sand alone, leaving a single line of prints that the night breeze slowly erases. The image calms you, reminding you that each day's imprint dissolves into memory, making way for new steps. Pulse slow, breath steady, you begin a final meditation taught by the priestess of Nemesis. You picture scales balancing your experiences, exertion matched with rest, honor with humility, solitude with fellowship. Each element finds its counterweight. The visualization settles you deeper into the mattress. Muscles release their grip, and your mind drifts toward the threshold of dreams. Just before sleep claims you, you sense the Ludus breathing around you, the soft rustle of blankets, the distant drip of water in the courtyard fountain, the whisper of wind through shutter slats. These sounds merge into a single, soothing hush. You surrender to it, trusting that the sand remembers, that the gods watch kindly, and that dawn will arrive in its own measured time. Wrapped in serenity, you glide into slumber, carrying the day's wisdom into the quiet realm of night. And now, let the arena fall silent. The sand is smooth again, the oil cool, the wooden practice blade steady across your lap. Footwork becomes memory, breath becomes tide. The city settles outside the walls. Stone holds moonlight. Nothing asks for speed. What belongs to effort can wait for morning. You have cleaned the leather, folded the wraps, and set the day down gently. Feel the weight ease from your shoulders, and the room grow warm and still. Close your eyes, drift with the quiet, and rest. Sleep comes like a kind hand, unhurried and sure. Good night.